So it's been a really big day for gaming. There's been a lot of announcements, not only for Nintendo Direct, because they did drop their partner showcase today, which, we're going to talk about, but also Elden Ring finally revealed some details for the Shadow of the Erdtree expansion. I am super excited for that. And then on top of that, I think the really big news today has been about Xbox and them confirming the 4 games that they're porting over to other rival consoles. There's been a lot of talk about this over the last few months, and they have now officially unveiled those today. But the thing is, there's actually some surprises included with that announcement. So we will unwrap all that today. But let's just go and get right into this Nintendo Direct. There was a lot of speculation regarding the first Direct for 2024. A lot of people entered this year thinking the first Direct would include the Nintendo Switch 2 reveal. That, of course, did not happen. But instead, we did get a partner showcase. And while, okay, I do understand that those aren't as exciting as a more general Direct, but they did still, however, announce some pretty exciting games I think most platform holders can be pretty excited about. I'll go over some of the highlights here, which includes Penny's Big Breakaway. This is actually a brand new 3D platformer developed by the Sonic Mania team, which, that was an amazing game. So let's just kind of hope that they can bring the expertise over to a 3D platformer and make it just as fun. And so far, it does look pretty good. For a 3D platformer, it seems kind of unique in the sense that they're really emphasizing its movement in this game. From my understanding, it does have quite a high skill ceiling if you want to do speed runs or do things like that. I think this game actually looks pretty good. And even better here is that you're not going to have to wait to play it. It's actually available right now as we speak. It's available on Steam, Xbox, PlayStation, and of course, Nintendo as well. It will run you $30, but if you like 3D platformers, maybe check it out or look at some different reviews and see what you think about all of that. Its Steam recommendation rate currently is at 88%. That's probably going to be moving quite a bit throughout the day, but that is a pretty good start, and I guess we'll just have to kind of see where it goes from there. Now, speaking of 3D platformers, though, a little bit of a surprise here was Epic Mickey Rebrushed. This is a remake of the often praised cult classic, and I guess THQ Nordic decided to revive it here. I was not expecting that, but they have Purple Lamp working on it, which is the same studio behind SpongeBob the Cosmic Shake, and I actually really like this revival. Not just because it's a beloved game, and the remake, it does look really good, but it's also a game that I surprisingly missed out on when I was younger. When it first released, I didn't really realize that it had all that praise until years later, but definitely, I'm going to jump into this one this time around. It will be out later this year on all platforms, including Steam. Monster Hunter Stories is also set to return this summer. This was originally a 3DS game, and they're bringing it back with some upgraded visuals. I kind of feel like they should have ported this before its sequel, but at the end of the day, it is a game that a lot of people missed out on, and I think a lot more people are aware of this franchise now, especially in the West. Now, Monster Hunter has always been incredibly popular over in Japan, but its popularity has really risen to new heights since the release of Monster Hunter World, and now fans can play both stories titles on modern platforms. It is a monster tamer type of game, so, it does draw a lot of comparisons to Pokemon, but it will be available on Nintendo, PlayStation, and Steam. Unfortunately, there will be no Xbox version. That's really the big story of the day, though, because as rumored, Xbox had a major presence during and even after this showcase. They opened up the showcase with Grounded slated for the Nintendo Switch, and this is really an interesting title to bring over. It does have an active community, and it's performed very well on Xbox and Steam. It was incredibly popular there for a while because, it is a great game, and it's also something that I think Nintendo fans will like. Yes, visually, it's a pretty big downgrade compared to other versions, but if you like crafting type of games, and if you like RPGs, because, this is coming from Obsidian Entertainment, they are one of the best RPG developers around, and this is a combination of both. It's just a very fun game, and it's just one of the best crafting games in the genre, hands down. So if you like those type of games, make sure to play it when it releases on the Switch, and yes, also on PlayStation on April 16th. That wasn't quite all, though, because Pentiment also showed up at this Nintendo Direct. This is a much smaller niche title, so it's not going to get quite the recognition as some of these others, but because of its art style, it really fits the Switch perfectly. That's something that I do want to say, though. I think a lot of people kind of I guess you can say sidestep this game because of its art style and just how different it looks. But I'm telling you right now, do not sleep on this game. It's very unique. There's not another game that's quite like it, and fans love this game for a reason. Yes, it might be niche, but it is very good. So maybe try it out when it releases for the Switch. And again, yes, it is also coming over to PlayStation as well on February 22nd. This will be out tomorrow. Even better is that it will also get a physical release for the first time in partnership with Limited Run Games. Okay, so this is where things start to get a little bit more surprising. So all of the rumors that we've been hearing about Hi-Fi Rush and Sea of Thieves were true, or at least to a degree. See, the thing is that the assumption that these would come over to the current Nintendo Switch consoles was wrong. That's not going to happen right now, which in retrospect, I think does make sense. I'll come back to that here in just a moment. But yes, Xbox did confirm that these two games are slated for PlayStation. Sea of Thieves will release on the PlayStation 5 on April 30th, which is actually the first Rare game ever to appear on a PlayStation console. I think this is also kind of bad news for Skull and Bones. That game got delayed an awful lot to now having to compete with the launch of Sea of Thieves on the PlayStation 5, so we'll see how all that shapes up. But then also Hi-Fi Rush, that will be out on March 19th. Hi-Fi Rush, thankfully, will also get a physical release in partnership with Limited Run Games, which I will immediately buy. However, like I said before, there is no Nintendo announcement for the time being, and I think that just ultimately comes down to the power that the current Switch has to offer. Both of these are more artistic games, but Sea of Thieves is actually a very good-looking game from a technical standpoint. Its environments and ocean physics looks absolutely phenomenal. And then as for Hi-Fi Rush, even though it's a very artistic game, they do prioritize frame rate. Let me just kind of put it this way. Hi-Fi Rush isn't even available on the Xbox One, and it's also not coming over to the PlayStation 4 either. The thing is that this is a rhythm game, that they really do prioritize that frame rate, and I imagine they were probably just having a hard time keeping its 60 FPS consistent on the Nintendo Switch. So what I think could happen here is that these games will not come over to the current Nintendo Switch, but I think there is a very good chance that they will launch alongside the Nintendo Switch successor whenever that eventually releases. That would honestly be huge for both these games. I mean, you talk about a new influx of players for Sea of Thieves and Hi-Fi Rush. I mean, that game absolutely deserves that launch recognition. It is such a good game. And that's something else that I want to go ahead and say here. I'm speaking directly to you PlayStation-only gamers out there, and also for you Nintendo gamers, especially if both these games come over to the Switch 2 as well. These are all, and I'm talking about all four of them, these are all really good games, especially Hi-Fi Rush. It was my number 2 game last year, and I think it's one of the best and most unique games this generation. Do not sleep on these games because they are all good. Like, I get it. Xbox gets a lot of criticism online about not having games. They don't have the best reputation in the world, but that's really not true. They do have some really good games. Some of them are smaller, like a few of these, but they are good, and I can easily recommend all 4 titles. So don't avoid them just because they have an Xbox logo on them. Do give them a try. Back to this Nintendo Direct though, Xbox made one more announcement. They are bringing over various Rare titles to Nintendo Switch Online. This includes Battletoads, Killer Instinct, Snake Battle and Roll, Blast Corps, and also RC Pro AM. And you know what? These are all pretty cool additions. Rare is a pretty big part of Nintendo's history, so it's nice to see these games come back over to Nintendo. But I think the only thing about this announcement is that it was also kind of deflating in the sense that after the event, people started to find out that Japan is getting Mother 3 for Switch Online. Yeah, fans are furious about that. But honestly, I'm not really all surprised. There's been a theory for a while that the West just can't handle this game due to certain controversies, which honestly, it is sad if that's true. I mean, I guess it is what it is. But if Nintendo won't port this game over to the West, just know this. You can play this game through a fan-made English translation. I'll leave that up to you, but in the meantime, hopefully Nintendo does eventually port this game over to the West with an official translation. The fact that they are releasing it in Japan shows you that they do have this game on their minds, so, just crossing your fingers that that means that a Western release will follow sooner rather than later. In rapid fire, though, let's just go ahead and talk about a few other games that got release dates here. South Park Snow Day will be out on March 26th. I know a lot of people do like the South Park franchise, and it seems like it's shaping up rather well. A brand new Monkey Ball game, which actually looks really good, will be out on June 25th. This is a series that I haven't gotten into a lot in the past, but I might have to check this one out. I thought it looked really good. Kingdom Come Deliverance is the next Miracle Switch port. It will be out on March 15th. Fantasy Life I, which is Level 5's return to the West. It's a very Animal Crossing-like game with some old-school Final Fantasy elements and the job system and all that. It's due to release on October 10th. That's one of the only games that they revealed for the second half of 2024. And hey, that's a pretty good holiday game to look forward to. Another Crab's Treasure, which is a Souls-like, also made an appearance here. That is a game that I've had on my radar for quite some time. I think it looks pretty good, and it will be out on April 24th. And actually, this does include a Game Pass release, so do kind of keep that in mind. Also, Shin Megami Tensei 5 is getting a new release, which includes Xbox, PlayStation, and PC. So it's great to see one of the better JRPGs get a full multi-platform release, and they even announced a new Endless Ocean. I thought it was kind of strange to end the showcase this way, but if you want a relaxing ocean diving experience, it will be out on May 2nd. So, this wasn't a massive showcase. I think that was to be expected when we found out it was going to be a partner showcase. It's not going to blow people away, but like I said before, I feel like there was still some really good announcements here, and if anything else, there's plenty of games to look forward to regardless of what platform you like to play on. Okay, so before we go, though, there was one other major announcement today because finally we got some new details and a new trailer for Elden Ring Shadow of the Erdtree. This is absolutely hands down my favorite game this generation, and really it's probably one of my favorite games ever made. So to say that I'm excited about this expansion is probably a bit of an understatement, but the great news here is that the wait is almost finally over. It will be out on June 21st, so go ahead and mark your calendars, and there's actually several ways to buy into this game. There is a collector's edition that's going for $250 on the Bandai Namco website. I believe that has already sold out, but keep an eye on it. They might restock it over time, and it does come included with a statue and various other goodies. If you just want a physical release, though, maybe you didn't buy the original, they're also releasing the quote-unquote complete edition, which includes the base game and its expansion. This will be $80, and unfortunately, the expansion does not come included on disc. It instead will have a downloadable code, which, that does kind of defeat the purpose of a quote-unquote complete edition to some extent. I feel like that is a missed opportunity for them, as some people probably would have even just rebought the game, period, if they would have just included everything on a disc, even if that had to include 2. However, though, if you do already own Elden Ring, you can simply just go out and buy the expansion digitally for $40. Now, I've seen a lot of people be surprised by that price tag. Some people are saying that this is too much for an expansion, but I think there's another way to kind of view this. This could also indicate that this is a massive expansion, and in fact, that's what they're saying. They're calling it their biggest expansion ever made. You do have to kind of keep in mind that this expansion is releasing 2 years after the base game, so there could potentially be a lot of content here that will keep you busy for a long time. What we do know, though, is that it will have 10 plus new bosses, 8 new weapon types, and From Software is also even bringing back a new poison swamp. Let me know what you all think about all this, though. Are you okay with the price tag for this new Elden Ring expansion? And also, give me your hype level right now. 1 out of 10, where are you at? For me, I'm an easy 10, and I might actually go back and play through the original once again. I did 100% it on Xbox, and I'm kind of thinking about maybe going back and platinuming it on the PlayStation 5. I don't know. We'll kind of see what I decide to do later this year. Anyways, though, that's it for this episode. Like I said, there's a lot of games to look forward to right now, but till next time, peace out.